In the mountains between Kosovo and Montenegro, horses and donkeys are the traditional means of transport, and today they're still used extensively to carry all kinds of goods, mostly smuggled across the border zone, which has become a haven for traffickers. The police discover fresh horse tracks, and in this car all the equipment needed for petrol smuggling. This man admits he earns up to €500 a day selling petrol illegally. Even real petrol stations have set up in this no man's land. Their owners pay tax to no one. Long queues for cheap petrol on both sides of the border have turned this place into the most interesting duty-free zone in Europe.
It's difficult because of the unique situation here. We are on the administrative boundary line and it's not officially a border, so it creates some difficulties for us.
The difficulties are obvious, and in spite of frequent controls, smuggling remains the source of income for many people, while Kosovo and the region remain hotspots on the map of international crime. I don't think that Kosovo and the Albanians are the source of crime. What we have here is a transit zone, so they are, in fact, the middlemen. No matter where the source is, organised crime spreads out from the region. It's estimated that about 1,000 tons of smuggled cigarettes cross the Adriatic Sea every month, ending up on the European market. The port of Ancona in Italy is an important control point on the Adriatic route. Cigarette smuggling involves interconnected chains, sometimes linking the producers all the way down to street dealers. In fact, the amount of cigarettes legally imported into some Balkan countries would suggest that every citizen smokes about 17,000 cigarettes a day. But more terrifying than cigarettes is the traffic in human beings. In a single raid, the Belgrade police found 46 jailed Moldovan women and the resources human traffickers need: weapons, money and fake documents. This flourishing business is becoming as profitable as drugs trafficking. Promised job and a better life abroad, thousands of women end up forced into prostitution in the Balkans or in Western Europe. Every year, 200,000 women are trafficked through the Balkans on their way to big European cities. Another Balkan route is used by drug traffickers to bring narcotics from Asia to Europe. Here in Great Britain, officials say that gangs from the former Yugoslavia and Albania control 70% of the heroin market. Faced with this growing threat, representatives of 57 countries gathered in London last November to draw up a common strategy to crack down on criminal networks, which are seriously poisoning relations with the international community.
We can only defeat the scourge of organised crime if we tackle it together.
You can imagine that a country that does not have, or people don't have a perception that is a country with rule of law, a country that is run by institutions or by mafias, not by groups of organized crimes or criminals, that country will never get money from the international community. The investor will not trust him.
The geographical position of the Balkans between the EU, Eastern Europe and the Middle East is a crossroads for cross-border smuggling. The geographical position is one thing, but wars in the region have also created fertile ground for organised crime. Macedonia managed to avoid a major conflict in 2001, but the country still has to cope with the criminal gangs who took root during those tensions. We have to face the fact that the speed of our integration into Euro-Atlantic structures will depend on our own efforts and results in combating organised crime. Let's be serious. We can't be partners or negotiators with the EU and NATO if we don't deal with this properly.
во реализацията за нашето зачленуване во НАТО и Европска унија ако при тоа не се справиме со тоа.
The Macedonian police recently took action against sex trade mafia gangs that have for a long time been untouchable. Political will is the key in the fight against crime, but it's impossible to achieve results by acting only at national level. This workshop, where all kinds of fake documents, visas and passports are produced, demonstrates how criminals operate. Internationally, for them, borders are no obstacles. International crime needs an international response. In Bucharest, this building, which used to be the symbol of the Ceausescu regime, is now the focal point for regional anti-crime action under the framework of the Stability Pact. Under one roof are found the Pact's organised crime unit, a connection to Interpol, and the SEESAC Centre for Fighting Cross-Border Crime. Customs officers and policemen from 12 Southeast European countries work together here. Their main goal is the swift exchange of information within the region. The head of this centre is Turkish. This demonstrates the need to share information on a wider scale in Europe's southeastern corner.
Turkey is a gateway from Asia to the Europe. The old days, this route was used for the trade purposes, but nowadays they're used by the criminals.
Most of the national law enforcement agencies have a type of information, but if these information are dispersed, divided, and if we are not able to combine to gain this information, it means that it is not possible to investigate all the network, all the criminal network.
But exchange of information is only the first step. What really counts is the number of criminals put behind bars. With different legislation still in place in different countries, criminals remain at large. What's considered evidence in one country might not be recognized in another. This is one of the main goals of the Stability Pact. It encourages Balkan countries to harmonize their laws and offers best practice to upgrade the fight against organized crime.
Nobody's going to give you a testimony or to be a witness in front of any court if he or she doesn't have enough protection because of that. Because after the testimony, if you don't have a program for a protection, your life and the life of your people around you can be in a big danger.
Porous borders in the Balkans still cause more trouble for the police than for criminals. As a natural border between a number of countries, the Danube is one of the ideal places for illegal border crossing. This group of illegal immigrants was arrested in Croatia last autumn. As long as mafia gangs have better regional cooperation than the police, the fight against organized crime will not be successful, says the head of the Croatian police. The criminal comes from Bosnia and Herzegovina, commits a crime in Croatia and then flees to Yugoslavia. The real situation is this. In Bosnia they're happy that the criminal has gone. In Croatia we don't have any record about the criminal. And in Yugoslavia he's spending his money, so they're also not motivated to arrest him there. In March 2001, the Belgrade police discovered 600 kilos of heroin in a bank safe, a special deposit made by the police itself when Milosevic was still in power. The heavy legacy of a regime in which the dividing line between state and mafia gangs was blurred has finally been brought to light. The heroin has been destroyed, but the ashes of crime remain. On Belgrade newsstands, the headlines scream of mafia leaders and former warlords settling scores. This shows that the Balkans will need a lot more time, political will and international support to heal their societies and truly move forward.